Okay, so we can start.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Alberto, for taking the time today.
My pleasure.
You remember a couple of weeks ago you held a speech in Zurich at the Front End of Innovation conference, and you got very positive feedback. Unfortunately, people couldn't ask all the questions because of time limitations, so we thought it might be a good idea to ask a few more questions today. And so maybe as a starter, what is your feedback regarding the conference? Did you take anything away, or did you talk to people there?
I had actually, frankly, I had very little time to talk with people, apart the people who was attending to my speech. I was surprised because I met many young people, which is not always the case during my speeches. The people, they were very interested. Apparently they gave me the impression that they were interested into the story I was telling, because you know I'm going around to tell a story which is not in a way the easier story for business people to listen, because Italian design factories is a strange phenomenon.
Yes, on the other hand, you are very successful for a long period, so you must be doing something right. I mean, your product
Maybe, probably.
can be bought everywhere in the world, and
Can be, yes.
so there must be some business behind your idea.
There is some business, but the business model by itself is very difficult, I tell you, to understand. That I tried last year to organize an exhibition, which was held for 1 year at the Triennale Museum in Milano. An exhibition trying to explain this phenomenon of the Italian design factories. Also the business model, the working model of these companies.
Okay.
It is called the dream factories.
Yes.
People, ideas and paradoxes of Italian design factories.
So for those who couldn't listen or who weren't there, could you briefly explain what's special about Alessi and the way you manage innovation and new things?
Yes, in short, this phenomenon of the Italian design factories is regarding around 30 to 40, maybe 50 companies in all, which have in common several aspects. One is to be medium-sized or even small-sized companies. Another to be focused in very precise areas of production, meaning furniture, lighting and accessories, like the case of Alessi. Another common element is the fact that we are all in an area of 100 kilometers around Milano, strange enough. And another point is that we, almost without exception, we were born as a phenomenon in the period after the war, Second World War, meaning in the 50s, the period of the economic boom, the reconstruction of part of Europe, of all Europe. And these companies have the characteristic to be, since the beginning, to be dealing with the best talents of product design from all over the world. At the beginning, during the 50s and 60s, mainly or only Italian designers or Italian architects. Nowadays, with people coming from all over the world. We do this apparently we succeed in doing this in a special way. Because I feel during these decades, passed from the 50s to today, we have developed special skills in our organizations. In my opinion, these special skills are related to the fact of being conscious, being conscious that our role, our deep role, is to be mediators. Meaning we are mediators between, on one side, the best expressions of creativity of today's creativity in terms of product design, represented by the best architect and designer we are dealing with. And on the other hand, we mediate this creativity with the final customers, not anymore needs, but dreams. We try to touch the imaginary of people.
And I mean, it's typical that companies gather around a certain local area. I mean, you have Silicon Valley, you have the banks in Frankfurt or in London, you have medical devices in Tuttlingen, so it's typical that companies, Swiss watches. So I think that's quite typical of industries specializing in a certain local area. So
also the fact of having in Milano many magazines specialized in very high quality magazines specialized in design and architecture. By itself, the Salone del Mobile, the Milano Furniture Fair, is the most important event worldwide in design. Milano is recognized as the world capital of design.
And fashion also, or does fashion play a
Fashion,
role?
there is also Paris. Paris is maybe even more important. But yes, okay, also fashion. But fashion, that's another story. Fashion in terms of quantity.
Fashion, there is also Paris. Paris is maybe even more important. But yes, okay, also fashion. But fashion, that's another story. Fashion in terms of quantity is much higher, much more important compared to the Italian design factories.
Okay, we will go into the topic of design and design thinking later on a bit more in detail, but before we dive in there, you mentioned you being a family business, and I read in your vitae that you've been with the company right from the start after you finished law school. Can you describe us a little bit the advantages but also the disadvantages of being a family business over such a long time compared, let's say, to companies that are at the stock exchange or public companies?
This is a very difficult question to answer, as you may imagine. Also because I did not have other experiences, so I can only talk of the experience I have had as a family
that's true.
member. I didn't have any experience out working for another company. Of course, also I have to say that it is something that is very typical in Italian industry. So we never thought to be something special. It is very traditional for middle-sized companies, at least in Italy, to be family companies. Then, of course, there are advantages. I think there are, not being sure because I don't have the demonstration of the opposite experience, there are some positive and some negative points. The positive points being that, of course, being in within a family, you are usually feeling safer, may I say, maybe safer. The negative side is that being part of a family, in a family everybody is equal, but not in the business, as we know. And it is sometimes difficult to balance these two very delicate aspects. Maybe the most delicate point is this one.
So, asking in other words, would Alessi, being a publicly traded company with shares, would it be possible to work like Alessi is and was working in the past? I mean, being so radical, being so risk-taking, or is it only possible in a family or privately owned company?
That's a good question, but I don't have an answer. I know that in other fields it showed to be possible. If you take fashion, for example, there are the big groups, especially the French groups in fashion, they are very attentive to the fact when they buy a new brand to keep the right people and to leave the identity of the brand and to leave the right people, the original the right people to take care of the identity of the brand. In design we don't have similar cases except for very recently, a few years, the fact that there is a financial group called Charm. The group Charm, they bought a few years ago some Italian design companies, namely Cassina, furniture, Cappellini, also furniture, Tonnet, the Austrian Tonnet, and maybe another company. And they are trying to repeat what has been done in fashion, to have a group made by several different identities of companies. In general, it is not that easy because, in a way, Italian design companies are clearly cases of one-man businesses. They are based on the intuition of the founder, and it is very difficult to replace the founder with a manager, unless the manager has by himself the characteristics of being intuitive and successful, like a founder of the company.
Because the founder has to find a son or daughter or someone in the family as well. I mean, to hand over the business one day.
Yes, but it is not given.
Yes, but it is not given. There are, okay, as I told you, the history of Italian Design Factory is actually a 60 years, 50, 60 years history. So we are now, in this decade, seeing some cases of second generation after the founder. We still don't know the end of the story. But it seems not that easy. Be it a sister, be it a child, a son, be it a manager, not that easy, because they are based on very special and fragile elements.
The two generations before? Okay. So you would say Alessi before you started was a different company, the two generations before? Okay. You've been CEO for a very successful company for quite a while. How would you describe your leadership style? What makes Alberto Alessi a good leader for the company here?
Probably the vision. I have a clear, let's say, a clear cultural project behind the activity that I put behind the activity of the company, which is the consciousness of being a research lab, an industrial research workshop into the area of applied arts. I am very conscious that I am living in a world, in an area where the so-called material culture is very important, and I defend with all my activity this consciousness. Maybe this is the main element. Apart that being also in a way the art director of Alessi, a lot of things depend directly on my choices. So all the relations with designers are done directly by me. All the choices of the new designers are done by me. And also the individual decisions during the development of the projects are under my responsibility. So it is all the time. I like that job. It is very exciting to wake up every morning imagining that I will meet a new designer or an old designer with new ideas. It is extremely exciting, a good reason to wake up.
Good. And can you communicate your vision so that the people working for Alessi have a good understanding and a good feeling what your vision is. So if I would go around and ask people what's the vision of the Alessi company, would you get similar answers like from you, or people say, okay, Alberto has a vision and he is making the decisions and we are doing the practical stuff?
Well, there are different levels, of course. People working more directly with me, they may probably share better the vision.
Okay.
People who are a bit more distant, probably they have a bit less consciousness. I don't know, my chief financial officer is probably less sensitive to this design mission. He has other things in his head, but he knows precisely the vision of Alessi, and he agrees, of course. So different levels related to the different jobs. But you are right, it is a big effort for us to try to communicate and to share this vision to all levels.
Because
I would say, for example, the workers, the people who actually work, they share well. They are very proud of working in this very humble material like steel, and to produce what we feel is a bit kind of art object.
Because I heard the same from companies like Ferrari or so, that people actually building the car feel very proud to be part of the whole brand, the whole emotion, the whole fulfilling people's dreams. So that's the same here as well. Okay. You said you work a lot with external architects, designer, artists, and these play a quite vital role in Alessi design. How do you identify them, and what makes these artists motivated to work for you? I mean, people like Philip Stark or Dali, they don't have to worry about fame or money or so. How do you identify these people, and what makes you attractive for these people?
Identification is not that difficult. Imagine that I am like a publisher. I need to find good novelists.
Okay, so they come to you.
I have to know which are the good novelists. It is a kind of know-how that I have, that we have. We know who are the 100 most interesting talents worldwide today in this very moment in product design.
Okay.
And by the way, almost all of them are already working with Alessi. The reason why they should work with Alessi is mainly due to not that much to the name, because they don't, as you said, they don't need to have the plus of the name of a company. They are very good, very famous by themselves. Probably the reason is that there is an organization in Alessi made in the fact that when they open the door of Alessi, the designer, they meet people.
And how does it work in practice? Do people come here regularly? I mean, it's hard to imagine that someone like Philip Stark comes here every week and talks to your people. Or how does the process of designing a new product work? Do you go out there, or do you share things via, I don't know, internet or via pictures, or how does it work?
Let's say the cycle of development of a project goes from 1.5 to 2 years, usually. From the start of the idea, the very first concept, which may be very theoretical at the beginning, not very clear, to the moment of the presentation to the public, takes 1.5 to 2 years. During this period, we have, as an average, 20 meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, because everybody is there.
Yeah.
And also a lot is done through internet. nowadays.
So the design
It's
is
much easier now.
CAD design and okay. And
but I insist into the fact that the reason why the designers like to work with an Italian design company is because they meet and they meet the right people and they are put in the best position to express themselves. This, by the way, is the reason why even today, if you are looking for the best French design, you are obliged to open the catalogs of the Italian design factory. And the same if you are looking for the British design or Portuguese design, Japanese design, because these designers are put in the best position to express the best out from themselves.
okay.
How may I say? Because design is always a ping pong. It's not enough to conceive the idea. Then you have to actually produce and possibly to sell.
Yes.
So it is made by very different roles, not only by the designer, who, by the way, still is the most important.
So you would say the designer is one of your customers as well, because I mean you treat the designers very well and very nicely. So are they customers for you?
In a way.
Yes. Joking, Philip Stagg was saying, it is not exact that I am working for Alessi, I am working for Cassina, I am working for Cartel. Alessi is working for me.
And do people get any royalties or any part of
All over Italian design is paid by royalty.
And do people get any royalties or any part of
All over Italian design is paid by
okay.
And almost always a percentage on the sales, on the turnover done by his project of 3%.
Okay.
Forever, because we recognize the, let's say, the rights,
the rights
creative rights, as he was a writer.
Yeah.
So 70 years.
And
was a writer.
Yeah.
So 70 years.
And how do you protect this? I mean, there are a lot of copycats for Alessi coming from Asia or so. How do you protect this value of your design?
Almost all our projects are patented for the form in Europe. So when it happens that there is a copy coming out somewhere in Europe, we always fight successfully. Every time we have around 20 fights running in Europe.
Okay.
Outside Europe, in China, for example, where the most copies are done, it is today almost impossible to fight. But alas, China is not an important market today for us. So
not because other luxury companies are doing very well.
Going very well. Some of them very well. But in design, none. Not yet. Let's hope.
Okay.
Because the market is important.
Could come in the future. So you said you take care of most of the relationships to the customers yourself. So like the artists and the designers, it's your personal contact with them. It's not R&D or marketing leading these. Okay.
Of course,
I use marketing and technology experts. My two most important collaborators are the marketing director of Alessi and we call it my senior design assistant, who has a background as an engineer, but is working with me on projects facing the designer since 30 years. So I work a lot with them with the help of these two people. So the main relation still is always with me.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but there was a book about 10, 12 years ago about open innovation that is getting ideas from the outside and you are practicing open innovation since much longer because you get your product ideas from the outside. Why do you think there are so few companies doing that? I mean, for you it's a perfect win-win situation. You don't need designers in-house. You get new ideas regularly. It's fun for you and it's pride for the companies. Why do so little companies follow in a similar path? I mean, you could have hotels designed by artists. You could have technical ideas done by Nobel Prize winners. Why do so few companies use this approach? Because it seems very logical to me.
Well, if you go to other areas, probably there are examples which are not the same but similar. In medicine, the research is done frequently by big specialists, the basic research.
We use
in hotels, now you see starting some design hotels. They are at the very beginning, but apparently it is a movement that is successful. In product design it's a bit different because the reason is I feel that one reason is because in a lot of cases technology is driving. In the cases where technology is driving, design by itself has an inferior position. Design is the point, and all the right people in the companies, they are devoted to technology. Design is like a little brother. They need design, but it's not very important. When you go to product design, which has not to do that much with technology, I feel the main reason is the immaturity of the management. They just do not know how successful they could be if they were able to open more their doors to outside creativity.
Yes.
But again, if you take fashion, they are even more advanced than us.
Because, I mean, design doesn't only mean the shape of the product, but for instance, if you take a computer, it's the interface you use. So if you take Apple, for instance, they started with a telephone or mobile phone when everybody else was going out of mobile phones. Siemens was stopping it, and all the big companies had problems with mobile phone, and then a company that didn't have any mobile phone knowledge started. And I think one of the main reasons for the success is design. Not only the design of the outside, but also how it works, how it interacts with the customer, and the joy part you mentioned is very important. So I see a lot of opportunities even for software companies to look at design, because it's focused on the human being, not on technology, because people don't buy technology in the end. They like to buy emotions, and they like to buy, even in cars or so. A practical car is nice, but everybody wants to have a Porsche or Ferrari, so that's emotion. So
Design in the area of interaction, so between the human and the tool, has a very enormous future. Not that much, still not that much used, because the case of Apple is in a way unique. But if you think the interaction, if you think to television, just to television sets, how not very easy to handle are the television sets today. There is a lot. You can understand how much work there is for interactive designers to improve that side.
So we have a lady here, Rafaela Kunz. She wants to know, could you imagine that design in the future comes from the crowd, from outside people instead of mindful designers? So that, I mean, Fiat did something when they did the Cinquecento, that you have people all over the world proposing designs for products.
Theoretically it is possible, but it is in a way like imagine that a masterpiece as a novel can be written by somebody who has never written a book, so very difficult. To give you an idea, we receive every year, my assistant receives every year 350 let's say people, new people presenting themselves and their book of work, but almost never it comes out that one of these is ready for to be good to be produced, to be developed. It's a matter of I feel design, industrial design is a very difficult discipline. Because you need to be a poet, to have the talent, and to understand also in part the technology, how the products are made.
So, do you think it's more like art or a craft you have to learn over time, or is it a better understanding of human desires, human anatomy, human feelings? What makes a good designer?
For me, it is clear that a good designer is a poet, has to be a poet, and design is an artistic discipline.
Okay.
Then, of course, since the output of the activity needs a lot of technology, it is not like writing a novel, then you give to the printer and the printer makes the book. Okay, a graphic designer puts pages, nice pages in the right way, and then it is done. In order to pass from the idea, the conception, and the actual output, the product, you need a lot of technology. In this sense, you have to face technology, not necessarily to know the technology. It is impossible to pretend a poet knows technology. But to be able to face and to talk and to be understood by the technical people, to understand and to accept, to know where are the problems, feasibility problems, which is something that you learn. The talent, either you have it or you don't, but then you have to learn by doing, in working with the people in the other disciplines.
Do you do a lot of testing of your products to see if they really do the job they should do, or really work in a practical sense, or do you rely on experience of
I don't know if I touched this point I don't remember in my speech, but I have developed many years ago a mathematical model, which is called the formula. The formula of the success, ironically. The formula is actually a mathematical model which allows us to understand very precisely which could be the future of this new prototype that we have on the table, which could be its future if we decide to go on and to present to the market. And it is based on 4 parameters. The purpose of the formula is not to give our own understanding of the product, of course, but to understand what will be the reaction of final customers. That's important. In that sense, it is similar to the to a test, even if it is not a real marketing test, because I do not believe in marketing tests. But if you have the time, I can tell you something about the formula. I will give the book later on. It is based on 4 parameters, the formula. 2 central parameters, very important for the Italian design factories, and 2 peripheral lateral parameters, which are less important for the Italian design factories, but equally important for final customers' final score. The 2 central parameters is one is called sensoriality, memory, and imaginary. It tries to measure the characteristic of this object to touch the imaginary of final customers. In other words, when people say, oh, che bello, oh, what a beautiful object. It is divided in 5 steps. The second central parameter is called communication language, and it tries to measure the characteristic of the object to be used by people as a tool for communication, to communicate something to the other people. There, for the stories of the status objects, the self-representation object becomes very important.
Yeah, it's very important.
Fashion is working very much in this second parameter. Then there are, and in these 2 parameters we are very strong. Then there are the 2 lateral parameters, the 2 peripheral parameters, which are on one side function, on the other side price, which are equally important for customers, for final customers. If you do the score under the 4 parameters, you come to a general score. Every parameter is divided in 5 steps. The maximum total would be 20, but it is mere virtual. We only have, by experience, only 18. 18, and a score of 18 means 100,000 pieces sold per year.
Good. That's very interesting, because it also uses central parts of human beings. I mean, communication is an absolute central part of us, and also status is very, very close to us, but also the actual function of things. And price, okay, price is more a modern way, but so this kind of includes 3 very, I would say, close to the human inner part areas of human beings. Okay.
Back to these 4 parameters, I must admit we test, but with a very special kind of test, which was developed in-house 20 years ago, and improved. We are trying to improve every year. We test the first parameter, sensoriality, memory and imaginary, because there we are not able by ourselves, our committee, we are not able to understand the final, precisely final customer reactions. So we have a special model of test that we have developed. Whether for communication and language, I have a committee in-house able to understand which could be the score. For price, I have the marketing people, and for function, I have the engineers. Not the engineer who has done the engineering of the specific project, but the colleagues, of course, because the father cannot judge the son.
No,
that's not possible.
So, are there any other companies outside you admire or you take as a kind of inspiration or role model there? Are there companies you look up to?
In this
historical moment, the Italian design factories are the movement. There are no other movements similar everywhere in the world in this historic moment. There are individual companies, for example, a company that I admire very much, I consider as an adopted child of the Italian design factories, is the Swiss-German company of furniture Vitra, near Basel. Vitra is doing an excellent job, but very few, apart from the Italian design factories. I insist on the fact that these Italian design factories, of which Alessi is a part, you have to understand why you have to see the Italian design factory as the last ring of a much longer chain, which starts with the arts and crafts in England, middle 1800, with the William Morris, John Ruskin, and then several other movements in the 150 years or more, where the Deutsche Werkbund, end of 1800, or the Wiener Werkstätte beginning 1900, or the German Bauhaus in the 20th past century, or the saga of Scandinavian design from the 30s to the 60s. But today there is
And if you look into the future, I mean, let's take an example of the Swiss watch industry that was in the 60s and 70s was kind of the watch industry worldwide. But then changes came with quartz clocks and Asian companies, and they had to change because they were closely to bankruptcy, and a lot of similar small family-run businesses. Where do you see the future of the Italian design valley or the companies? You know?
I'm not able to predict the future, so I really do not know. I am confident mainly because of the fact that there is a context now which makes Milano the focus of international design. It means a lot of things. It means the museums, as I said before, the magazines, the Salone del Mobile, all the Italian designers and architects almost are living in Milano, or they have a studio in Milano. It makes that these energies are there.
Okay.
Another story is to understand how today's company will continue to be managed with the same, how may I say, intensity, or quality, or curiosity, or effervescence, as they are today with what I call the Padre Fondatori, the founders' fathers. That's another story. It is not sure that the sons will have the same qualities of the fathers in the same directions. That's another story. But I am reassured by the fact that these energies are there. So maybe the names of the companies, why not, could change. But there are the possibilities for new companies to come in this mass of energies and the sensibilities.
Okay, so we're running again. Do you have products that are made for special markets? So you know the taste is different in, let's say, Russia, from South America, from Asia to Japan. So you have one design fits all, or?
No, actually we have a wide range of different languages in terms of aesthetics. One of the richnesses of Alessi is to be able to collect all in this mass of energies and the sensibilities.
Okay, so we're running again. Do you have products that are made for special markets? So you know the taste is different in, let's say, Russia, from South America, from Asia to Japan. So you have one design fits all, or?
No, actually we have a wide range of different languages in terms of aesthetics. One of the richnesses of Alessi is to be able to collect all these different aesthetic visions. Sometimes contradictory between designer and designer, from neo-minimal, very pure, very simple, essential, to the neo-baroque, or the very expressionist. As I said, this is a richness for Alessi. But I must say that what people love, they love everywhere. What they dislike everywhere.
Yes.
What they don't understand, they don't understand everywhere.
So you think?
I don't see any difference, actually.
So you would think someday in China people will like Alessi products?
Yes, the copies done in China, they copy the best Alessi products. They copy bestsellers, yes.
Okay. One of the last questions is, what is the biggest issue within your organization getting new innovative products to the markets? Where do the difficult issues lie? Or is it very easy?
On one side, it may be considered easy because of the fact that we, if I may use this term, we control worldwide the best creativity. So we are able to receive the best proposals, every time different and exciting. It may be difficult because of the fact that actually, if you consider Alessi products, we are dealing with objects, typologies, which are extremely old. How old is a ball? Or even a dish? Or a pot? 1,000 years old. It means that almost all the objects that we have to do with, they are at the end of a parable of evolution.
Okay.
It means that there is very little, apparently there is very little to add to this evolution. It is not like, I don't know, an electric razor is a little boy 50 or 60 or 70 years old.
Yes.
It has a lot of possibility to change also, to be redesigned. Whether if you take a ball or a tray, a ball or a tray that we see today are the result of a work of some hundreds designers, almost unknown, all in developing the ball that we know as we know it today. So this I leave this as a big constraint, big limitation. This is, by the way, why I'm trying to open the borders of Alessi to other typologies like lighting, which at least are new for Alessi, or also the small furniture pieces, which are new for Alessi.
So you don't see, like in music, that things come after a certain time again?
Never.
No revival?
No revival in my case. No.
Okay.
I'm trying periodically. I'm trying to do some experiment, but every time unsuccessfully.
Okay. Are there certain books innovative person should read? Anything you recommend? Are there main, apart from your books, you published quite a few books yourself. Are there books you would like to recommend to innovative product designers?
But for me, important reference books for example, Italo Calvino, who was, by the way, an Italian novelist. Italo Calvino wrote the 6 memos for next millennium. This is very important for all kind of creative profession, also for industrial design. This is one. Then several books written by the French sociologist Jean Baudrillard around the society of consumption. Also the semiologist let me think the name of this is a very famous sociologist and anthropologist. Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes has written some texts very inspiring for people having to do with industrial design. For example, Mythologie quotidienne.
Are there any other sources of inspiration for you, or sources where you get important innovation you can give to the audience, to the interested people?
The most important source of inspiration for me is, by the way, talking with my designers, especially the old people I consider my old maestros, people like Ettore Sozza, Achille Castiglioni, Richard Sapper, Alessandro Mendini, Andrea Branzi, Enzo Mari. They are people who always have something to give to me as an inspiration. Because also I have to say that a good designer is not only a person who is able to draw elegantly. First of all, he is a thinker, good thinker. All good designers are first good thinkers. So let's say a lunch with one of my maestros, as I will have tomorrow in Milano with Alessandro Mendini, is the best source of inspiration for me, by far.
Okay. And
Also people 70, 80 years old, they have a lot of experience to share.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. The last question is, next year we will have the conference in Copenhagen. We already had design tracks in the front-end conference, and we will have a design track. Is there any other topic or speaker you would recommend for next year's conference?
With the purpose of?
I mean, the conference is front end of innovation, so similar to like what you do in design, we like to discuss what's hot, what's new, what's interesting to be innovative, and design is a major part of it. But there could be trends like things we call reverse engineering, for instance, that things done in India come back to the developed world in a different way, so we can learn from what they do. Or other things are theoretical models, like you just described. We have a lot of researchers who do research in innovation, and then they find out things about the lead user, for instance, like the doctors who invent something. So it's around anything in innovation, and could be business model innovation, could be service innovation, could be product innovation. So that's the main.
I could say, from what I understand, I could say for the topic relation between design and industry, how could design interfere or change, even contribute to a change of industry today, I would probably recommend one of the Italian maestro, who is Andrea Branzi, 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 who's based in Milano. But Andrea doesn't speak English, so this may be a problem. Otherwise, in Italian, he's very fluent and very smart. Molto, I like his vision. A bit theoretical, but very interesting. He's one. But I don't know whether in this second is a case for you, is good case for you. But last speech I had with this the director of the museum, of the Guggenheim Museum. He was talking about the strategy of the Guggenheim. You know that this Guggenheim, they are now building other being paid by local communities, like in Bilbao was the first, then in Abu Dhabi or somewhere in the east. Then they are discussing with Helsinki, I heard, do a Guggenheim also there. So, and should he be free to share a bit more that what they did in Firenze last week? This could be interesting to understand that even a museum can be managed as a business, a cultural business, but a nice kind of business.
That's a good idea. And we can ask somebody from Vitra as well, so if you think they
Or
have...
Mr. Yes, Mr. What's the name of the owner of Vitra?
We can check.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yes, the guy of Vitra.
So, thank you very much, Alberto. That was very, very interesting. I wish we could talk much longer, but I think you gave us a lot of new insights and inspiration, also for the younger generation, because one day you have to hand over to...
Yeah. Would you like to have the book?
Yes, sure. If you have a...
your first name is Peter.
Peter. Okay, thank you.